Being rich in medieval times didn't mean comfort, it meant being a target. Your wealth painted a giant mark on your back. Jealous neighbors, corrupt officials, kidnappers, rival nobles, even the king himself. You couldn't hide it, couldn't spend it freely, and couldn't fully trust anyone around you. Power brought fear, paranoia, and constant risk, sometimes more danger than being poor ever did. If you enjoy these short, honest looks at history, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment telling us where are you watching from. All right, tonight we're uncovering the worst thing about being rich in medieval times.
You've just woken up in the year 1398 in a grand stone manor house nestled in the English countryside. The morning sunlight filters through the narrow windows, casting long beams across your chamber. You stretch beneath heavy wool blankets on a feather-stuffed mattress, a luxury only the wealthy can afford. Most peasants sleep on straw pallets that harbour fleas and bedbugs, but you are Lord William Thornbrook, one of the richest nobles in the county. The good news is that you're wealthy beyond imagination compared to the common folk who work your lands. The bad news, your big toe feels like someone is driving a red-hot poker through it, and the slightest movement sends waves of agony up your leg. You've got gout, what physicians call the disease of kings. Your day begins as it always does, with servants rushing to your bedside. Unlike the peasants who rise before dawn to milk cows and tend fields, you've slept well past sunrise. The head servant Thomas approaches with a silver basin of rose-scented water for washing your face and hands. Behind him, 2 younger servants carry your clothing for the day. Fine wool tunics dyed with expensive colours lined with silk imported from far-off lands. "My lord," Thomas says with a bow, "the household awaits your commands for the day. The steward needs approval for the feast preparations, and you cut him off with a groan. Send for the physician, my foot. It's the gout again." Thomas's face falls. He's seen your gout attack before and knows what's coming. "Right away, my lord." You try to sit up, and the movement sends a jolt of pain so intense through your foot that you gasp. The swelling has returned. Your big toe joint now resembles a ripe red plum, hot to the touch, and so tender that even the weight of a linen sheet feels like torture. This, you reflect bitterly, is the hidden cost of your privileged life. While peasants suffer from malnutrition and exposure, the nobility faces different torments. The peasants might envy your abundant food, your warm shelter, your fine clothing, but they don't see the price your body pays for such luxuries. The chamber door opens and in shuffles Master Gilbert, your physician. Unlike the village healers who treat the common folk with herbs and folk remedies, Master Gilbert studied at the great medical school in Muriel, France. His services cost more per visit than a peasant might earn in a month. But what good is wealth if not to purchase the finest care? "My lord," Master Gilbert says gravely, setting down his leather satchel of medical instruments, "the gout has returned, I see. You grimace like a bad penny. What cursed thing have I eaten this time?" Master Gilbert strokes his grey beard, examining your swollen foot without touching it. The skin is stretched tight and shiny with a deep red hue that speaks of the fire burning beneath. As I've explained before, my lord, it's an imbalance of the humours. The phlegm, cold and moist, has settled in your joint where it becomes corrupt and causes pain. But the underlying cause? He hesitates, knowing you won't like his answer. Yes, yes, you interrupt impatiently. My rich foods and wine. The same lecture every time, Gilbert. The physician nods, unperturbed by your irritation. Indeed, my lord, your body produces too much uric humour from the rich meats, the sweet wines, the delicacies your table offers nightly. These corrupt humours crystallize in the cooler parts of your body, most often the feet, as they are furthest from the heart's warmth. What Master Gilbert doesn't say, but what you both know, is that your gout attacks have become more frequent. Last year you suffered perhaps 3 bouts. This year you've already endured 4, and it's only autumn. Each time the pain lasts longer, and your recovery grows slower. Some nobles, you know, have become so crippled by repeated attacks that they can barely walk, their toes and fingers permanently deformed by the accumulation of what physicians call tophi, hard, chalky deposits under the skin. This is the cruel irony of your station. While peasants labour from dawn to dusk, strengthening their bodies with work and subsisting on simple fare, you enjoy a life of relative leisure and sumptuous food that slowly poisons your joints. Master Gilbert opens his satchel and removes several glass vials and packets of herbs. I've brought several remedies, my lord. First, a puss of herbs to reduce the heat and swelling. From his bag, he produces a bundle of dried herbs, meadowsweet, willow bark, and other plants known to reduce inflammation. These will be ground and mixed with wine vinegar to create a paste that, when applied to your throbbing joint, provides blessed relief. And for the pain, he continues, a tincture of poppy. This is the most precious medicine in his collection, distilled from the seed pods of poppies grown in distant lands. It dulls even the most excruciating pain. But it comes with its own price. It clouds the mind, and used too frequently creates a craving that can consume a person. You've seen nobles who became dependent on poppy tincture, their fortunes dwindling as they purchased more and more of the costly substance. I've also brought autumn crocus, Master Gilbert says, producing a small pouch. The Byzantine physicians found it effective for gout. It must be used carefully. Too much causes vomiting and worse, but the correct dose can shorten the duration of your suffering. What neither of you knows is that this remedy, autumn crocus, contains what modern physicians will one day call colchicine, one of the few truly effective treatments for gout. The Byzantine doctors stumbled upon this treatment centuries ago, and its use has spread throughout Europe, passed from physician to physician without understanding exactly why it works. As Master Gilbert prepares his remedies, grinding herbs with a small mortar and pestle, you stare out the window at your estate. Your lands stretch for miles, fields, forests, villages full of peasants who work from sunrise to sunset. You collect taxes from them, protect them with your soldiers, and judge their disputes. In return, they produce the wealth that allows you to live as you do. Outside, you can see workers harvesting the autumn crops. Men swing scythes through golden wheat. Women gather and bind the cut stalks. Children glean any fallen grain. Their movements are fluid and practiced, their bodies hardened by years of physical labour. None of them, you'd wager, suffer from gout. Here, my lord, Master Gilbert says, drawing your attention back. Drink this first. He hands you a small cup containing a dark liquid. The bitter taste of poppy fills your mouth and you force yourself to swallow. Soon, a warm numbness will spread through your body, dulling the sharp edges of your pain. Next comes the pus. Master Gilbert gently applies the herb paste to your inflamed joint, then wraps it with clean linen. The coolness of the pus provides immediate, if modest, relief. The autumn crocus I've mixed with wine, he explains, offering another cup. Drink it slowly. It may cause some stomach discomfort, but that passes quickly. You drink as instructed, grimacing at the strange taste. Then you lie back against your pillows, waiting for the remedies to take effect. Rest now, my lord, Master Gilbert advises. No rich foods today. Barley water, a little bread, perhaps some boiled chicken without the skin. I'll return this evening to check your progress. As he packs his supplies, you gesture to Thomas, who's been waiting quietly by the door. Pay Master Gilbert his fee. The physician bows and departs, leaving you alone with your thoughts and your pain. Through the window you can hear the rhythmic swish of scythes cutting wheat, the calls of workers to each other, the harvest song rising from the fields. Their lives are hard in ways you'll never experience. The constant worry about having enough food, the vulnerability to weather and disease, the relentless physical labour that wears down bodies before their time. Yet here you lie in your fine bed, in your stone manor house, crippled by pain that is ironically a direct result of your privilege. This is the great equalizer. While rank and wealth can shield you from many hardships, your human body remains vulnerable, subject to its own particular suffering's killer. The poppy tincture begins to take effect, wrapping your thoughts in cotton and dulling the sharp edges of your pain. As you drift towards sleep, you wonder, is your gout truly the worst thing about being rich in medieval times? Or is it merely the physical manifestation of a deeper truth? The excess, even when it appears enviable, carries its own punishments. When you wake, the sun has moved across the sky, and the quality of light suggests it's mid-afternoon. The pain in your foot has subsided from excruciating to throbbing thanks to Master Gilbert's remedies. You can think more clearly now that the worst has passed. Thomas appears at your bedside with the tray. Barley water and bread, my lord, as the physician ordered. The barley water is bland and the bread plain peasant fare, though of higher quality than what they would eat. Your ordinary meals are far different. Roasted meats, swimming in rich sauces, game birds, fish on fast days, all accompanied by fine wines and ales, followed by sweet confections made with expensive sugar. Your table reflects your status, each dish a statement of your wealth and power. But that abundance is precisely what has brought you to this state. The human body wasn't designed for such luxury, especially when paired with the sedentary lifestyle of nobility. Peasants eat simple foods, mostly grains, vegetables, and occasionally meat, and work physically all day. Their bodies process what they consume, leaving little to accumulate as the crystals that cause your suffering. My lord, Thomas says hesitantly, the steward still needs directions for tomorrow's feast. The merchant from London has arrived with the spices you ordered, and tell him to proceed as planned. You interrupt. But I want simpler dishes added to the table, less meat, more fish, and tell the kitchens to reduce the use of wine in the sauces. Thomas looks surprised, but nods. Yes, my lord. And shall I tell the guests you're indisposed? You consider this. The feast is to honour a visiting baron, a potential ally whose support you need. To be absent would be a political misstep. No, you decide. I'll attend. Have the servants prepare a chair with cushions where I can rest my foot and find my walking staff. After Thomas leaves, you carefully swing your legs over the edge of the bed. The movement awakens fresh pain in your toe, but it's manageable now. You stand gingerly, keeping weight off the affected foot, and hop-step to the window. From here, you can see the inner courtyard of your manor. Servants hurry about their tasks, preparing for tomorrow's feast. A cart laden with barrels of ale is being unloaded. Smoke rises from the kitchen buildings where cooks are already preparing foods that require slow cooking. It takes an enormous amount of labour to maintain your way of life. Dozens of people working constantly so that you and your family can live in comfort and project the image befitting your station. This perhaps is another burden of wealth in medieval times. The constant need to display your status through consumption and spectacle. Your table must groan with food, your clothes must be of the finest materials, your home must impress. Anything less would suggest weakness or decline. So you spend lavishly, consume abundantly, and your body pays the price. You think of King Henry IV, who suffers so severely from gout that he sometimes cannot walk or ride a horse. Yet he continues to feast and drink as his position demands. Trapped in the same cycle as you, the disease of kings indeed, a mark of status that becomes its own prison. Evening approaches, and Master Gilbert returns as promised. He examines your foot, nodding with satisfaction at the reduced swelling. The remedies have helped, he observes. The crisis is passing, but my lord, to prevent future attacks, he trails off, knowing you already know what he'll say. Less rich food, less wine. You finish for him. More walking, more water. Precisely, he agrees. Particularly avoid organ meats, liver, kidneys, sweetbreads. Limit game birds. Reduce your consumption of wine, especially the sweet varieties. This is sound advice based on centuries of observation by physicians who notice patterns in gout sufferers. They don't understand the biochemistry. That won't come for hundreds of years, but they've recognized that certain foods and drinks reliably trigger attacks. I'll try. You promise. Though both of you know the challenges. Your entire social life revolves around feasting and drinking. To abstain is to withdraw from the very activities that cement alliances and demonstrate your position. After Master Gilbert leaves, your wife, Lady Eleanor, comes to visit your chamber. Unlike you, she rose before dawn to oversee the household, managing servants, reviewing accounts, ensuring that every aspect of your large estate runs smoothly while you handle political matters and business affairs. "William," she says, sitting carefully on the edge of your bed, "how are you feeling?" "Better," you admit. Gilbert's remedies helped. She sigh, taking your hand. "This is the second attack this month. You must take better care. Lady Elena comes from a noble family herself and understands the expectations placed on someone of your rank, but she's also practical and clear-eyed. The feast tomorrow," she continues. "I've instructed the cooks to prepare a separate plate for you with simpler foods. You can still sit at the high table and fulfill your duties as host without aggravating your condition." You smile gratefully. This is why you married her, not just for the alliance between your families or the lands and money she brought to the marriage, but for her intelligence and care. Thank you. You say, "I've been thinking perhaps we should change how we eat daily, not just during my gout attacks." She raises an eyebrow like the monastics, plain food and prayer. You laugh, then whines as the movement jostles your foot. Not quite so extreme, but more fish, more vegetables, less of the rich sauces and sweet wines. Lady Elena considers this. It would save money that could be used elsewhere, and might set a new fashion. You know how others at court copy whatever you do. This is true. As one of the wealthier and more influential nobles in the region, Your choices influence others. If you begin eating more simply, it might become acceptable for other nobles to do the same. A welcome relief for those who struggle to maintain the expected level of conspicuous consumption. We'll try it, you decide, starting after tomorrow's feast. As night falls, servants bring candles to light your chamber. The wax candles, another luxury that common people can't afford, cast a warm glow across the room. Most peasants simply go to bed when darkness falls, or use rushlights made from reeds dipped in animal fat if they must stay awake. Your candles are made from beeswax, expensive but cleaner burning and sweeter smelling than tallow. You think about the contrast between your life and theirs. They rise with the sun and work until their bodies are exhausted, eating simple foods and sleeping on straw. You wake when you choose, conduct business and politics rather than physical labour, eat rich foods that your body struggles to process, and sleep on feathers and fine linen. They face starvation in bad years, exposure to the elements, the constant threat of disease with little medical care. You face gout, obesity, and the political dangers that come with your position. Different hardships for different stations, but hardships nonetheless. This perhaps is the wisdom to be found in your suffering, that no life, however privileged, is free from pain, that the human body has limits regardless of one's wealth or status. That excess, even when it's expected and admired, extracts its own price. As you drift towards sleep, your foot still throbbing but bearably so, you resolve to find a better balance, to maintain your position without destroying your health. It won't be easy in a world where consumption defines status, but if anyone can chart a new course, it's someone with the privilege and power to choose. Tomorrow will bring the feast with all its temptations and obligations, but perhaps the day after will bring the beginning of a wiser path, one where you enjoy the benefits of your station without falling victim to its excesses. The worst thing about being rich in medieval times isn't just the gout, it's the golden cage of expectations that keeps you consuming things that harm you. But even golden cages have doors if one has the courage to find them and step through. Morning arrives with a pale sun fighting through the mist that clings to your estate. You awaken to find your foot improved, still tender and slightly swollen, but the fierce burning pain has subsided. Master Gilbert's remedies have done their work, particularly the autumn crocus, which seems to shorten the duration of these attacks. Today is the feast, and despite your condition, you must fulfill your duties as host. Your status demands it. Reputation in medieval society is everything more valuable than gold, more enduring than stone castles. One hint of weakness, one public failure, and whispers spread through the nobility like wildfire. Those whispers can undermine alliances, affect marriage prospects for your children, even reach the king's ear. So you rise, allowing Thomas and another servant to dress you in your finest garments. A tunic of deep blue wool from Flanders with embroidery around the neck and sleeves, a belt with silver buckles, hose that fit snugly, and soft leather shoes that have been carefully modified to accommodate your swollen toe. The left shoe has been slit and additional leather sewn in, creating a pocket of space where your afflicted joint can rest without pressure. My walking staff, you remind Thomas, who hurries to fetch the polished oak stick topped with a silver knob. It's ostensibly decorative. Many nobles carry such staffs as symbols of authority, but today it will serve a practical purpose, bearing weight that your painful foot cannot. You make your way carefully down the stone stairs of your manor house, each step a negotiation between dignity and pain. The great hall below is already bustling with activity. Servants hang fresh rushes mixed with herbs on the floor, sweet-smelling plants that will release their fragrance when crushed underfoot, masking the inevitable smells of many bodies gathered in one space. Trestle tables are being set up in rows, with the high table on a raised platform at one end, where you and your most honoured guests will sit. Your steward Henry approaches with a bow. Unlike Thomas, who oversees your personal needs, Henry manages the entire estate, supervising other servants, handling finances, ensuring that your lands and household run smoothly. "My lord," he says, "the preparations are well in hand. The Baron and his party were sighted on the road and should arrive within the hour. The kitchens report that all dishes are proceeding as planned." "Good," you reply, leaning slightly on your staff and the special arrangements we discussed. "Yes, my lord. Your chair at the high table has been cushioned as requested, with a small stool for your foot, and Lady Elena has instructed the kitchen regarding your meal." You nod, satisfied. These small accommodations will allow you to fulfill your social obligations without worsening your condition. This is the constant balance you must strike, maintaining the appearance and behaviours expected of your rank, while managing the physical consequences they bring. Outside, horns sound. The Baron's party has arrived sooner than expected. You straighten, grip your staff more firmly, and prepare to greet your guests. The pain in your foot is a dull throb now, manageable if you're careful. You make your way to the courtyard where your household is assembling to welcome the visitors. Lady Elena joins you, resplendent in a gown of deep green with a gold-embroidered belt and a delicate network of golden chains adorning her head. Together you present the image of prosperity and power that your position requires. The Baron's party enters the courtyard in a clattering of hooves and a flutter of banners. Baron Radcliffe is a burly man in his 40s, his face reddened by both wind and wine, his clothing rich but slightly dishevelled from travel. He dismounts with a grunt that suggests he too might suffer from the ailments of nobility, though he covers it well. Lord Thornbrook, he booms, striding forward with his arms outstretched. "How good to see you again." You step forward to meet him, careful to put minimal weight on your affected foot. "Baron Radcliffe, welcome to my home. We are honoured by your presence." The formal greetings continue as the Baron's party. Family members, personal servants, and guards are all acknowledged according to their rank. This ritual of welcome is important, establishing the hierarchy and relationships that will govern the visit. Medieval society functions on such clear delineations: who sits where, who speaks when, who defers to whom. To violate these unwritten rules is to invite chaos. As the Baron's party is shown to their chambers to refresh themselves after their journey, you return to the Great Hall to oversee final preparations. The pain in your foot is intensifying with the activity, but you hide it well behind a nobleman's mask of composure. To show pain is to show weakness. The hall is transformed now. Trestle tables covered with clean linens, wooden trenches at each place, silver cups for the high table, and wooden or horn cups for those of lower rank. Fresh rushes carpet the floor, releasing the scent of meadow, sweet and lavender when crushed underfoot. Servants hurry about with last-minute adjustments, and the steward directs it all with quiet authority. You make your way to the high table where your modified chair awaits. Testing it, you find that the cushions support your body, while allowing your painful foot to rest elevated on the small stool hidden beneath the table's drape. From here you can preside over the feast without standing for long periods, a small mercy for which you're grateful. The kitchen send word that the first courses are ready, and you dispatch servants to inform the Baron and other guests that the feast will begin shortly. As you wait, Lady Elena joins you at the high table, leaning close to speak privately. "You're in pain," she observes, her voice too low for others to hear. "Manageable," you assure her, though in truth the throbbing has intensified to a steady burn. She gives you a knowing look. "Master Gilbert left this for you." From a small pouch at her belt she produces a vial of poppy tincture, just enough to dull the edge, not enough to cloud your mind. You accept it gratefully, taking a small sip when no one is looking. The bitter taste is followed by that familiar warming sensation that signals relief is coming. Not complete relief. You'll still feel the pain, but it will be muffled, pushed to the background so you can focus on your duties as host. The guests begin to arrive in the hall, taking their places according to rank. The Baron and his immediate family join you at the high table, while their attendants and your household knights and officials sit at the tables below. The lower servants will eat later after the feast is concluded, making do with the leftovers and simpler fare prepared specifically for them. The meal begins with a ceremonial washing of hands. Servants move among the tables with basins of rose-scented water and clean towels. This ritual of cleanliness is practical. Most food will be eaten with the fingers, but also symbolic, marking the transition into the formal meal. The first course arrives, borne by a procession of servants. For most guests, there are rich meat pastries, roasted fowl, and a soup of herbs and barley. At your place, as arranged with the kitchen, the offerings are simpler. Boiled chicken without the fatty skin, bread, and a small portion of fish cooked with herbs. It's still luxurious compared to peasant fare, but far less likely to aggravate your gout than the dishes served to others. Baron Radcliffe, seated to your right, notices the difference. "Not partaking of the full feast, Lord Thornbrook?" he asks, tearing into a meat pastry with gusto. You smile diplomatically. "A temporary measure. My physician advises caution with certain foods." The Baron grunts in understanding. "Ah, the cursed gout. Is it the disease of kings and nobles?" He lifts his wine cup in a half salute. "I've had a touch of it myself in recent years. Damnable thing." "Indeed, you agree," relieved at his understanding. "The price we pay for our position, it seems." The Baron laughs, a booming sound that turns heads at nearby tables. "Well said. The peasants don't suffer it, do they? Too busy breaking their backs in the fields to develop our refined ailments." There's truth in his jest. Gout is rarely seen among the working classes. Their diet of simple grains, vegetables, and occasional meat provides little opportunity for uric acid to accumulate. Their constant physical labour keeps their bodies processing efficiently. It's only when you combine rich foods, particularly organ meats, game birds, and certain fish, with wine and a more sedentary lifestyle that gout flourishes. As the feast progresses, you observe the differences in consumption around you. The Baron eats and drinks prodigiously, as do many of the knights and officials at the lower tables. It's a point of pride for a nobleman to demonstrate his prosperity through abundant consumption. Yet, you notice that some of the older men, particularly those who occasionally wins when shifting position, eat more moderately and water their wine. They too have learned the painful lessons that gout teaches. Between courses, minstrels perform, singing ballads of chivalry and courtly love, playing lutes and small harps. This entertainment allows diners to rest between bouts of eating and provides a cultured atmosphere befitting a noble household. It also gives you an opportunity to converse with your guests, building the relationships that are the true purpose of such gatherings. I understand the king has imposed a new tax on wool exports, you say to Baron Radcliffe, steering the conversation toward matters of mutual interest. Your estates, like his, produce significant wool for export to Flanders, where it's woven into the fine cloth that clothed Europe's nobility. The Baron scowls indeed, and at the worst possible time the merchants from Bruges are already complaining about the quality of last year's clip. Add this tax and they'll look to Spain instead. This launches a discussion of trade, taxes and royal policy that continues through the next course. Other nobles at the high table join in, sharing information and opinions. This is how the medieval nobility conducts business through conversations at feasts and gatherings, building networks of shared interest and mutual support. As the main courses are cleared away and the sweeter dishes appear, fruits preserved in honey, custards, and small cakes flavoured with expensive spices from the east. Your foot reminds you of its grievance. Despite the cushioned chair and elevated position, despite the poppy tincture and careful food choices, the pain has been steadily increasing throughout the meal. Lady Elena notices your discomfort and subtly signals to the steward. He approaches and bends to hear a quiet instruction, then nods and withdraws. Moments later, the minstrels begin a particularly engaging performance, a comic tale of a knight's misadventures that has the entire hall laughing. Under cover of this distraction, you shift in your seat, trying to find a position that offers relief. Perhaps some air, my lord, Lady suggests quietly. The tale will keep their attention for some time. You nod gratefully. Using your staff and accepting her discreet support, you rise and make your way slowly to a side door that leads to a small garden attached to the great hall. The cool evening air is a relief after the warmth and noise inside. You should return, you tell Elena once you're seated on a stone bench. Our guests will notice if we're both absent. In a moment, she says, arranging her skirts as she sits beside you. First, tell me truly, how bad is the pain? You sigh, dropping the mask of noble composure you've maintained throughout the feast, worsening the movement, the heat of the hall. You gesture helplessly. Even with all our precautions, it's flaring again. She takes your hand, her face concerned in the fading light. Should I send for Master Gilbert? You consider this. The physician could bring stronger remedies, but to summon him during the feast would draw attention to your condition and might insult the Baron. Medieval etiquette is clear. A host must not show weakness or discomfort that might make guests feel unwelcome. No, you decide. I can manage until the feast ends. Just a few moments here to gather myself. Lady Elena nods, understanding both your pain and the social constraints that force you to endure it in silence. This is another burden of nobility, the requirement to maintain appearances regardless of personal cost. After a brief rest, you return to the hall, timing your entrance during a lull in the entertainment. Few seem to have noticed your absence, and those who did assume you were attending to host duties. The Baron is deep in conversation with another guest, his cup refilled yet again with the sweet wine that will in time likely bring him the same suffering you're experiencing now. The feast continues for another hour. More food, more wine, more entertainment. You fulfill your duties as host, engaging in conversation, ensuring the Baron and other important guests feel appropriately honoured, maintaining the delicate balance of medieval social politics despite the fire burning in your foot. Finally, the Baron rises, swaying slightly from the effects of wine. A magnificent feast, Lord Thornbrook. Your hospitality is as generous as your reputation suggested. This is the signal that the formal part of the evening is concluding. Some guests will retire to their chambers, others will linger for more drinking and conversation. But the ritual obligations has been fulfilled. You can now withdraw without offence. You honour us with your presence, Baron, you reply, also standing despite the protest from your foot. My home is yours for as long as you wish to stay. After the final courtesies are exchanged, you make your way slowly back to your chamber, leaning heavily on your staff. The poppy tincture has worn off, and each step sends jagged spikes of pain shooting up your leg. By the time you reach your room, you're breathing heavily from the effort of maintaining composure. Thomas is waiting along with the young assistant. They help you undress and prepare for bed, removing the fine clothing and replacing it with a linen sleeping shirt. The modified shoe comes off last, revealing your toe, now visibly more swollen than it was this morning, this skin stretched tight and shiny. "Shall I send for Master Gilbert, my lord?" Thomas asks, his face creased with concern. "Yes," you reply, too tired and in too much pain to maintain pretense, "and bring cool water for my foot until he arrives." While waiting for the physician, you lie back against the pillows, your throbbing foot elevated on cushions. The feast was a success. The Baron is pleased. Alliances strengthened. Your reputation for hospitality maintained. But the cost is written in the pain that pulses through your body with each heartbeat. This is the reality behind the glamour of medieval nobility. The physical price paid for social position. While peasants suffer from too little, you suffer from too much. Their bodies are worn down by labour and occasional hunger. Yours is poisoned by abundance. Neither fate is enviable, just different forms of the same human vulnerability to circumstance. Master Gilbert arrives, his face grave when he sees your foot. The feast, I presume. You nod wearily. I followed your advice as much as possible. Simpler food, watered wine, but the standing, the heat. He sigh, opening his satchel. The body needs time to heal, my lord. Each attack makes the next more likely unless that healing is complete. He begins preparing a stronger pus than before, the pungent smell of herbs filling the chamber. And complete healing requires more than just waiting for the pain to subside. It requires ongoing change. This is the challenge you face. Not just recovering from this attack, but preventing the next one. And that means confronting the expectations and habits that define your position in society. Can you be a medieval lord without the feasting, the wine, the rich foods that are symbols of your status? Can you find a balance between the demands of your rank and the needs of your body? As Master Gilbert applies the fresh pus to your foot, the cool herbs bringing immediate if minor relief, you consider what changes might be possible. Perhaps more walking when you're well, more water between cups of wine, more fish, and fewer game birds on your daily table. Small adjustments that might over time reduce the frequency and severity of your attacks. "Rest now, my lord," Master Gilbert advises, packing up his supplies. "I've left a stronger dose of poppy tincture for the night. Tomorrow we'll see how things stand." After he leaves, you take the tincture, grateful for the relief it will bring. As the medicine begins to work, dulling the sharp edges of your pain, you reflect on the day. Despite your condition, You fulfilled your duties. The feast achieved its purpose. The alliance with Baron Radcliffe is secure. Perhaps that's the real skill of nobility, not just commanding wealth and power, but navigating the costs and constraints that come with it. Finding ways to meet the expectations of your position while protecting yourself from its excesses. It's a different kind of survival skill than those the peasants must master, but no less essential. The poppy tincture pulls you towards sleep, thoughts growing hazy and disconnected. Your last conscious reflection is that tomorrow, when the Baron departs, you'll begin implementing those small changes, a slightly different path that might lead to less suffering, while still maintaining your place in the rigid hierarchy of medieval society. As you drift into sleep, the pain in your foot diminishes to a distant throb, a reminder of the bargain struck between privilege and its price. The disease of kings has marked you as it marks so many of your class. A painful brand of belonging to a world of excess that both elevates and punishes those who inhabit it. In the quiet darkness of your chamber, far from the noise and demand of the feast, your body begins its slow work of healing. Outside, the estate settles into night. Servants clean the great hall, putting away the remnants of the feast. Guards patrol the walls and courtyards. In the village beyond your manor, peasants sleep the deep sleep of physical exhaustion, their bodies tired but largely free of the crystalline deposits that torture your joints. Different lives, different sufferings. The medieval world turns on this axis of inequality, each person bearing their particular burdens according to their station. For now, yours is the burning pain of gout, the ironic curse of having too much in a world where most have too little. Morning arrives with the distant crowing of roosters and the soft murmur of servants beginning their daily tasks. The poppy tincture is worn off during the night, and you awaken to find your foot still swollen but less painfully so. Master Gilbert's stronger pus seems to have drawn some of the heat from the inflamed joint. Through the narrow window of your chamber, you can see that the day promises to be fine. Clear blue sky, the kind of autumn crispness that makes physical activity pleasant rather than punishing. On such a day, had you been well, you might have joined the Baron for a hunt, galloping through the forests of your estate, falcon on wrist or hounds baying ahead, pursuing deer or boar. These are the pleasures of nobility that your gout often denies you. Thomas enters quietly, carrying a tray with a pottery cup of steaming liquid. "Good morning, my lord. Master Gilbert left this for you to drink upon waking." You prop yourself up against the pillows and accept the cup, sniffing cautiously. The bitter scent of herbs rises with the steam, meadow sweet willow bark, and other plants known to reduce inflammation. Not a pleasant draught, but one you've become familiar with during your gout attacks. The Baron, you ask, after forcing down the medicine, already breaking his fast in the hall, my lord. He mentioned plans to depart before midday. This is a relief. While Baron Radcliffe's visit was important politically, hosting always requires energy you can ill afford when gout has you in its grip. Once he leaves, you can focus on recovery without the need to maintain appearances. "Help me dress," you instruct. "Nothing elaborate. I'll break my fast privately here." Thomas selects simple clothing, a tunic of undyed wool, loose-fitting hose that won't constrain your swollen foot, and the modified shoe that accommodates your inflamed toe. Even with these accommodations, dressing is a careful negotiation with pain. Each movement that jostles your foot sends sharp reminders of your condition, Once dressed, you settle in a chair near the window. Thomas brings a tray with your morning meal, a piece of bread, some watered ale, and a small portion of cold fish left from last night's feast. This simple fare is closer to what a prosperous peasant might eat than the elaborate breakfast you normally enjoy. But Master Gilbert's advice about diet has been consistent over the years. The fewer rich foods, the better your chances of avoiding future attacks. As you eat, you hear the commotion of the Baron's departure in the courtyard below, horses being brought around, servants loading baggage, the Baron's booming voice giving instructions to his retinue. You should be there to bid him farewell formally, but both he and you understand that your absence will be attributed to your condition. In medieval society, gout provides a socially acceptable excuse for certain breaches of etiquette. It is, after all, recognised as an ailment of the nobility, almost a mark of status in itself.